What up, what up, what up, what up? Once again, it's your favorite podcast. Yes, I said your favorite podcast, Three Brothers, No Sense. I am Tavares Ferguson, a.k.a. Ferg, and I'm joined with my co-host, Byron Evans, a.k.a. Buff, and Orazio Mancarella. Razi, fellas, tell them what's on your mind.
What's up, everybody? Hey, once again, we just appreciate all the support that we're getting. Everybody that's sharing, commenting on Facebook. We just appreciate everything that you're doing for us. We're going to keep giving it to you raw and just keep listening.
Man, and I want to second what Razio said. But in addition to that, people that know me or people that finally meet me after listening to this podcast are going to be like, why in the hell do they call him Buff? He's not even Buff. So I just want to put that out there. I don't subscribe to Buff. This is what all my friends have called me. Slim put this on me, and they just refuse to call me anything else, people. I don't walk around thinking I'm Buff. I just want to put that out there.
I beg to differ. I feel like you came up with Buff, but
no, it was Slim. It was Slim.
I mean, we can agree to disagree, fellas.
But what's up, though, fellas? What's going on with y'all, man?
Nothing much. Once again, I want to thank all our listeners for subscribing, listening, sharing, communicating, just being active on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and making it worthwhile doing a show. I mean, yes. Every time I get a email or a text or somebody goes into my DM, all responsible, good Christian DM messages, by the way. It puts a smile on my face and lets me know that the listeners like what we're saying and we're actually doing this for a reason. I mean, neither one of us say we're experts in any of the subjects that we talk about. We just try to think about it deeply, and I think at the end of the day, challenge what we think initially and just go a little deeper and try to make ourselves better people. So appreciate all the support. So what's going on in the news, fellas? What's going on out there that we haven't really talked about?
I wanted to throw out there, I saw, Byron, you finally caught up on Snowfall, and I saw your post about the season finale. No spoilers. I
updated my post today from yesterday. Did you check that one yet?
No, I haven't seen that one yet.
Okay, no spoilers, but I will say, if you saw my original post, I slightly amended it, but at the end of the day, it was not an episode I cared for. But I did go back and rewatch it, and I caught a few clues that was pretty cool. Easter eggs, as comic book fans would say. I caught a few Easter eggs in there that it was pretty cool, but overall, not the type of episode I wanted.
Yeah, but Snowfall as a whole, man, is a great show. So if you haven't checked it out, it's a show about the crack epidemic that hit California in the 80s and how the CIA supposedly, helped that happen and everything like that. So it hits it from so many different angles. It really is a new age, The Wire, if anybody remembers that.
Loosely based on Freeway Ricky Ross, even though Rick Ross said, not the rapper, by the way, but Rick Ross said that John Singleton never consulted him. In my opinion, it's loosely based on him in connection with the CIA.
Yeah, I can see that.
Well, man, I haven't caught up on Snowfall. I've been cheap every time I look at Comcast, Netflix, or Prime. They're trying to charge me, so I'm trying to get it on my Fire Stick. Yeah, I said it. I'm trying to get it on my Fire Stick.
So it's on Hulu, and Hulu, you can watch it with commercials, so you're good now.
Oh wow, I have Hulu, so
and it's a FX show. So if you have basic cable,
I do. But the thing about it is, they would Xfinity, Comcast, whatever they are today. They give me. I have all of season 3 recorded. We're halfway through season 2, so we haven't started watching season 3 just because we don't want to be lost. So if we can watch the last half of season 2, we can watch season 3 on our regular TV. So
season 3 is bananas too, man. It's
great. Yeah. Season 3. I mean, they took it up a notch in season 3.
Yeah. Okay. Well, unlike Franklin, we're not getting paid like that. So you know what we got to do is that time we got to pay bills, people.
Let's do it.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
All right, fellas, we're back. It's my favorite part of the show. It's when we get down to the questions, the nitty gritty. And as usual, so much has gone on, from what I read and what I see and experience that, man, I don't even know what I want to ask. So I'm going to ask you guys to pick a number between 1 and 3. And Buff, pick a number between 1 and 3.
2.
Okay, 2. So let me see.
He really pulling out his phone. Scrolling. Okay.
That's how many topics he has. He has a scroll through.
I mean, I travel. I try to experience life. I'm a deep thinker. So I have show topics pop up all the time. So
I do the same thing.
I had to narrow down to 3 questions. So the second question on my list is the one we'll go with. So it's a weird conversation. First of all, are either one of you guys organ donors?
I am.
What about you, Buff?
I am not.
Okay. Is there any particular reason why not? It's not a judgment call. It's not saying.
No, I don't. Just in case they, the old Chris Rock joke. In case they think of a way to bring us back to life, I need all my organs.
Well, the reason I asked that is, when I ask people are they organ donors, it's about 50-50 that my friends and family members are. It's way more acceptable. Now, I am an organ donor, but we always look at it as something we do if we pass or expire, that rushing that kidney or whatever to the hospital because we got in a bad accident or something like that. So just recently, someone I know, and I want to say this tastefully because I don't want to put their business out there or disrespect their situation, but they've been diagnosed with a very serious disease where they're in need of an organ, a kidney to be exact. And at the same time, this person's wife is also in need of a kidney. And this gentleman, being a great guy, has put it out there in the world that, hey, if there is a donor, he would like the first kidney to go to his wife, which is just admirable in my mind. But it made me think, are you willing to donate an organ to a close friend or donate an organ, period, to somebody who really needs it while you're still living? And if so, is it certain people you're willing to do? Are there parameters behind it? You guys get it?
I think I got you.
Yeah. I can go. It reminds me of, you remember John Q?
Yeah.
Denzel Washington, when he had to give his, I think it was a kidney or heart or something to his son. And, he was about to blow his brains out to do it. And it was hard for him to do it, right? So he's like trying to commit suicide so he could save his son, but it's still hard for him to do. And I think it's that same thing for me. It has to be somebody close. I'm sorry. I'm not giving up a kidney to some person on the internet that just says, hey, I need a kidney. That's one of those things that if I'm going under the knife, it's going to be for a family member, somebody that I know that I feel like I'm giving you life and you're going to do something with it. You know what I mean? And I'm sorry, I really don't know that person that's just giving me the sob story on the internet, no matter how good it might be. So I probably wouldn't do that for just a random person. And it needs to be something that I can continue to live my life with. So, yes, I'll give up a liver transplant because you can live with like 1/10 or a quarter of your liver and you're still good. Because I really don't drink much anyway, so I don't need my liver for real. But, to give up one of my kidneys, that's a life-changing event for me too. So you have to start watching your diet and everything like that. And so if I'm going to change my lifestyle and my life for this person, then they need to be close to me. So I can't just do that for a random.
Agree. It'd have to be wife or daughter or some. I mean, Rozzy may not drink a lot, and I don't drink a lot now, but I did start drinking when I was 14. So I need my liver. I need it at full strength. So yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with him. It have to be one of those cases right there, man.
So when you say close, how close is close?
Tabitha and Jasmine.
Okay.
Full stop.
And the reason I ask is because, and I don't try to speak things into existence. So, hypothetically, we all have a wife and kids, and God forbid they are in need of something, and no one in that household's a match. What do you think then? The roles reverse. So nobody in your house can donate to your kids or your wife. If everybody has that same mentality, how do you guys survive? What, does that make you think a little deeper, and I'm not putting pressure. I just, like I said, it was an interesting conversation in another group that I'm in. And it was just,
I think that's kind of destiny, right? It's if we find one, we find a match, and somebody comes up and they say that they are going to do it, then they do it, and we're going to pray about that and trust that God's going to provide that whatever organ it is. But I think I can't think about hoping somebody semi close to me would give up and change their lifestyle and do all that stuff that I just talked about in order to save my child, because they're not as close to my child as I am, and again, it's relative to what I'm providing, what I'm transplanting, and, the usefulness to me, as well as if it's going to save your life or just prolong your life for a year or two. Talking about that liver transplant, if it's my uncle that's an alcoholic and he needs a liver transplant, I'm sorry. I don't care how close I am to him. I'm not giving him the liver transplant. You know what I mean?
Did you give your list? Is yours like Byron? Is your household? Is that where you stop, or is your circle a little bigger?
Because you got
mine's probably a little bigger when it comes to, like I said, it's relative. If it's a kidney, it's going to have to be my sisters, my family, like my household, probably one of you two, like my closer friends, DeMarcus, Brent, like my real close friends. I may go ahead and step out and then do the kidney transplant where I still have one. So it just really depends on the change in my lifestyle and my relationship to that person. So I think it's a sliding scale. I don't think it's one or the other.
Well, I always play devil's advocate. What you about to say, Buff?
I was gonna say I'm terrified of surgery, man. Like I've never had to have surgery, where you like put out and cut open and stuff. So just the thought of surgery, man, is one of my, I don't know, fears. Maybe I watched too much Nip Tuck where the anesthesiologist didn't do her job and they woke up and they could feel the pain, but they couldn't move or something like that. I don't know, man. I'm having surgery is not something that I look forward to. So
yeah, me either.
Yeah. Well, it gets crazy. Surgery. I mean, me and Ferg got plenty of stories from Afghanistan. Where folks came in and it's crazy.
Yeah. So
what's your answer, Ferg?
I'm gonna answer, but I'm coming to you, Buff. I'm about to poke. I'm gonna poke the bear or the Buff.
Poke the Buff.
So you have a very small circle. What if you could save someone in Rozzy's household?
You mean like Ali or Sophie or
Rozzy, Jennifer, Haley, anybody?
I send you my deepest prayers, Rozzy. Listen, you know what, man? In all seriousness, it's easy for me to say what I wouldn't do in this hypothetical scenario, but I genuinely do love Raziel and his family. And if I knew that I can 100% save one of his family members, and I'm faced with that decision, like if I do it, I save them. If not, there's no other matches. They're going to die. That's a huge weight And my love for him and his family, I don't know if I can live with that. So my answer is, I'm probably taking the easy way out. I don't know if I can honestly answer that right now, because if I was faced with it, I think there's a good chance that my answer would be different. But, it's just the fear of going under surgery. And like Razio said, just doing without one of those important organs, having to change your entire lifestyle, that's something that you got to seriously think about. So easy for me to say, nah, not right now. But if I'm faced with it, and I like Sophie a little more than Ali too. So
well, hopefully if everything goes right and you're still, you make it through, because Ali might take his shot at Tabitha.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I know your husband saved my life, but it's kind of like he's here.
Yeah.
He already was old.
You can at least lay with his kidney every night.
He ain't got but one kidney and he old. You might as well come with this young player.
Wow. But I'm kind of like, I have a list. It would have to be my immediate family, and it depend on my household, definitely. Even my immediate family, my brothers, sisters, but it also depends on the lifestyle they live and the lifestyle they can live afterwards. If I give up this kidney and their life expectancy is 2 years and their quality of life is going to be struggling for 2 years, is it worth it? If they're young and vibrant, they're at the beginning of their life, is that a risk we're willing to take? But when it comes to others, that outside of my household, outside of my family, I mean, I'm kind of like you, Byron and Razi. I would have to really, really consider it, because like you said, Buff, I think at the end of the day, when you think about that burden of guilt that you could possibly live with, knowing that, hey, I could have saved this person's life. And I don't know if it's the medic in me and some of the things I saw or experienced in Afghanistan, where you know that you have a chance to save this person's life. And when you don't, I mean, that stays with you. I mean, when I've literally had somebody, die in my hands before, and, that stays with you. And it wouldn't be the same situation, but it's more so that, man, I possibly could have done something to save this person's life. And maybe I would have to stop drinking a little bit, or maybe I had to get over my fear of surgery. People live happy and full lives with one kidney, or it could be like, hey, I'm saving this kidney for somebody that I really know that needs it, but it really made me think, because when I saw the email or the message come out, it's easy like, nah, I'm not the one. But it also makes you think, like, what if that was somebody else? Maybe that person's not in that circle, but what goes through your mind if, one of us sends out that text or that call, like, hey, man, just let you know this is going on with this person in my family, and we're looking for everybody that we know and care that's healthy to see if they can be potential donors. Can I count on you? What do you say? Nah, man, I'm good. Oh, I got bad phone reception, or let me call you back. It's one of those things. So I think I answered the question. Didn't expect to go down the Afghanistan path, but it made me think of those situations where I remember every time we got a patient, that was the first thing that went through my mind is, am I going to do the right thing? Am I going to perform my job correctly to potentially save this person's life, or provide a better way of living for them? So,
yeah, especially if it was an insurgent, because that was the biggest thing was, of course you're doing everything you can when a soldier came through, but when an insurgent came through, when they brought in somebody that was injured, that we know had shot at our guys, and then they shot back and hit the insurgent, and we're having to patch this person up. Like that was hard the first couple times that somebody brought that in, because you have to think about, all right, I've got, that whole Hippocratic oath and do no harm, and I'm going to save them no matter what, and then we'll figure out what to do with them afterwards. But it's hard getting over that hump that first time when you know that guy was shooting at your folks, you know, so that's a decision you got to make. And I think it goes right along with that, Ferg, of, you know, do I help everybody? I want to help everybody, but at the same time, what kind of care am I going to give them? What kind of, you know, what part of myself am I going to give them to make them survive?
I guess you got to triage the situation to see if it's worth it.
Yep.
You know,
every time.
I guess once again, it's like playing God. You get the chance to make that decision. Is this the person who I'm gonna save, or is this one of the people that's going to have to find another way? So, anything else, fellas?
Another tough question from you as usual.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to go that deep. I thought it was gonna be a quick one. So
who we
who's
got
up next?
So I'm gonna do something a little different this time. I'm gonna start my question off with a quote, and then I'm gonna pose the question to you guys. So here we go. Who you marry tells me who you are. When you marry a woman, you don't just marry her. You marry her culture, her community, and her people. I cannot respect a black man that doesn't marry a black woman. And that, of course, is Orazio's favorite philosopher, Dr. Umar Johnson.
Ooh.
So my question...
The Honorable. Honorable Dr. Umar Johnson. Isn't that right, Razzie?
Something like that. Man.
These are jokes, people.
My question to you two guys, and it's a two-part question. One, how do you feel, please be honest, don't answer, how do you feel about interracial marriage? And two, before you all married your lovely wives, at any point, would you have considered marrying not just a white woman, but any woman of a different race, but specifically a white woman in this case, but overall any other race? So, two-part question. One of y'all take it.
I mean, I can go first because it's very difficult for me to say I wouldn't go into an interracial relationship when my parents are in an interracial relationship. So, right. You know, I remember growing up, and I tell the story a lot of times, you know, getting those looks, even in the 80s in Mobile, of we don't do that here. I remember being asked to leave a restaurant in Saraland, Alabama, because my mom and dad were there, and they were like, we don't do that here. So, you know,
wow.
And that was in the 80s. So think about that. I mean, that's far past civil rights and everything. Supposedly we're good. And no, it still was that kind of red-lined, unspoken segregation that was happening, or actually outspoken segregation that was happening in Mobile.
Are you willing to name the restaurant?
No. I don't even know if they're still open, truthfully. Okay. All right. I hope they're not. So we never went back.
Proceed.
But, you know, it's one of those things that I look at people as people, man. I mean, and like you said, when you marry a person, you marry their culture, and I can attest to that. But I don't think there's a problem with mixing cultures and really blending and understanding each other's culture. If you love that person, you love that person, you adopt those cultures. I mean, my dad was Catholic, my mom was Baptist, and for the first few years of our life, I went every other Sunday to a different service. I went to Catholic service, then I went to Baptist service. And then, you know, finally my dad just kind of moved over and adopted my mom's Baptist religion. And so that shift, and it's like, as a couple, you have to go through that and you have to grow through that. But to say I'm writing off every other race just because I want to stay inside of my race just doesn't make sense. I mean, you fall in love with who you fall in love with. And before I married Jenica, I dated a white girl for a little while. So, you know, it's one of those things that, what?
Can you tell me about that?
I didn't know that either. That's breaking news right there.
So,
you heard it here first, people.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's one of those things that, yes, I definitely would if the relationship had gotten stronger and we had kind of really went down that path. I had no problem with that. I mean, And it's people are people, man. And we need to get past this idea of if they're not exactly like me for some reason, then I can't be with them. So the long and short answer of it all.
Okay.
Well, I agree with you, Rozzy. I mean, you love who you love. It's funny because I remember growing up in Mobile and then moving to Dallas and being in the suburbs of Dallas, Addison and Richardson, and that adage, you have to be 10 times as good as they are to get exactly what they have. And so my mom and dad growing up, or stepdad growing up in Alabama, had that, be wary of white people attitude to a certain extent. Not that they didn't like them, they would just be wary. And back in the day, I used to love me some little white girls, point blank. I was that guy because I was like one of the only kids in class, black kids in class. So that's who I was seeing.
Was this like back in 6th grade?
No, 6th grade? No. This is Dallas. 6th grade, but no. So moving from Dallas to Mobile was a culture shock too. So when I first moved to Mobile and I was at Booker T, man, talking about Fair East Side High, man, that junk had me nervous. Phillips was a better transition for me. But what's funny is, my mom used to always kind of, you can see her disdain to a certain extent when I would have these little, quote unquote, little white girls calling my phone and stuff like that. House phone. This is 1987, 1988, whatever. But what's funny is you fast forward to call it 1995, 1996. And my mom starts dating again after my stepdad divorced. And she starts dating the guy who's my youngest sister's dad, and growing up in Mobile in the 90s, he's Native American, but you know what that is in Mobile? White, so just seeing that and just to see that in my mind, it's like she gave me all this grief for, little white girls. And now she's dating this white guy. Oh, now she's, really dating this white guy. They're about to have a kid and all this stuff. And fast forward to 2019, they're still together. All the men that and not saying all, but the men I've seen in my mother's lives, it seems like none have made them as happy and have been as supportive for her as him. So it can work. You just have to make it work. As far as me, I'm not against it, but it's always been something about a black woman and a black family that maybe I romanticized about, where I didn't want to have to deal with those issues if I didn't have to. I want to be able to come home and have a conversation and my wife completely understands as much as she can as a black woman compared to a black man as possible, where I didn't have to bite my tongue. I don't have to worry about what she might have thought, we just got in an argument. Did she just call me the N-word in her head? It's those things where that now my wife might still do that, but, out of love, but it's not the same context. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I just want to throw it out there. The girl that I dated was for the culture. Not like on a Rachel Dolezal type for the culture, but she grew up in an African American community. So it wasn't like
how was her haircut?
Foreign, everything was foreign. Yeah, she had one of the I date black guys.
I knew it. Oh,
I gotta lie, she did.
Oh man,
was this before high school, Rozzy?
No, this was in college.
Oh,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah. But I think also going to HBCU for me, man, I saw so many strong, beautiful, like successful black women that almost any man would be happy to call their own. It's like, man, they're out there in all this negative publicity and negative connotations we associate with black women. I mean, they're looking at the wrong spot. So for me, I felt like I was destined to marry a black woman. As far as being able to accept somebody else's culture, I mean, that's a challenge, but I think it's doable. I think you have to have those conversations, because it's not just a black and white thing. It's my wife is 7 years my junior. You know, there's things that I experienced growing up that she never experienced. You know, we'll be listening to a song and I want to think about, oh yeah, when I was in college, did this. She was like, oh yeah, I was in middle school. I'm like, by God, like what happened? You know, so there's cultural differences there. There's age differences. You know, she grew up in South Florida. I grew up in Alabama and Texas. The way you look at religion, I mean, there's always going to be differences. So I think if you're willing to work it out, you can, but you have to know that those are things that we have to address those and not make it seem like they're not there. So I think that's the only way to make those things successful, is to address the elephant in the room. Hey, you know you're white, right? So let's talk about that. What made you ask that question? I feel like I saw a special or a comedy show or something that asked that.
He wanted to make me mad talking about Umar Johnson.
No, it wasn't a special. I knew it would. I knew it would affect Razio a certain kind of way, just by the messenger. But for me, man, it's two things, right? So first off, you know, love who you love. Point blank, period. Love who you love, no matter what sex, race, religion. Love who you love. That's not my business. I will say this, though, and I guess this will make me the villain of the show for the second week in a row. I will say, for a man or a woman, whoever, for someone to only date white women, like won't consider black women, I do think that type of person has some type of issue with black people. Like, I mean, we got Dennis Rodman as an example of how he didn't want to really date black women because they reminded him of his mom and he hated his mom or whatever. So it's one thing to, you know, you happen to fall in love with someone who happened to be white. That's one thing versus you only date white women. So, and I don't even want to say I have a problem with that, because at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with me. But I do think there is an issue behind that if you only consider white men or white women or whatever race it is. And I use Umar because Umar Johnson has said a lot of things that have ticked a lot of women off over the years. A lot of women call him a sexist and things like that. But
because he is.
But when he said this quote, because it is my belief, black women, please correct me if I'm wrong, but from my experience, it seems like black women have a much bigger problem with black men that date white women than black men have with black women dating white men. Maybe it could be the same. Maybe that could be a blind spot, so I'm openly admitting that. But it just seems like black women have a serious problem. They feel like, you know, with the athletes, with the celebrities, in their mind, they always go and get them a white woman. And so it was just kind of funny to see them disagree with nearly everything Umar said. But then when he said this quote, a lot of those same women was like, well, I mean, he got a point. So that's why I use him, because, again, from my experience, that's how much they detest seeing it. And I think it's because, in their point of view, so many successful black men, it seems like, from their point of view, it seems like it's okay to date a black woman when you haven't made it yet, when you're just average or below average. But once you make it, you're all of a sudden too good for them and you go and get you a white woman. And I think that kind of offends some of them.
Yeah, I mean, because society, to a certain extent, I think, and I don't believe it by any means, but it's almost like it's an upgrade.
Yeah.
It's seen as the upgrade. So it's offensive. You know, it's like you have all these successful black women here. You've been dating black women. Your first wife is a black woman, or your baby mama was a black woman. And now that you get this, you reject. I think that might be part of it. I can't speak as a black woman. Please, listeners, let us know. And I'm pretty sure you will let us know.
Please.
How you feel. But I think for a black man, when we see a black woman dating a white man, it's almost like, especially if she's attractive, it's like, oh man, we let one get away, and we shrug our shoulders, and you might even shoot your shot because it's a pride thing. Like, you know, why you got all this black man over here? Don't come back to us. No, all right. It's more like I'm gonna shoot my shot because she's fine. But at the end of the day, I mean, I'm not gonna lose sleep and like, guess what I saw? You know, it is what it is.
But when you talk about maybe it's an upgrade or something like that, it's a lot of times it's just a circle that those people are moving in now. When they become these successful athletes and things like that, they're going to parties and there aren't as many black women in those parties. And so what ends up happening is the circles that they're running with now just lends themselves to end up meeting a white woman that, you know, you chop it up, y'all talk, y'all meet at the bar, y'all start laughing, and all of a sudden, boom, we're in a relationship. You know, I think that's probably more so for most of those guys that end up becoming successful and end up with a white person. It's not necessarily that I'm writing off black women or anything like that. Because, Buff, I agree with you. Anybody that says that I'm only going with one race, I don't want black, you know, women anymore, I'm only going with white women, there's something underlying there that needs to be addressed. And there's some self-hate. There's some hate for the culture. There's something that needs to be addressed with those people. But for the folks who, like you said, they're baby mama, they dated black women throughout. They probably dated a black woman right before this white woman that they ended up with. It just so happens that the one that caught them ended up being the white girl. I mean, it's no different than me dating somebody else, black girl, and I met Jen. Like, all those other women go out of the window. It doesn't matter anymore. Mm-hmm. It's my current wife, and I fell in love with her. And I think that's what ends up happening with most of them. The problem is that they have so much celebrity that everybody wants to make assumptions about, because they chose that other race, that they are somehow saying that the black race or their race is worse. And I don't think it's an either or. I don't think I don't think they're consciously making that choice when they say, "Hey, I like this conversation that we're having. Let's continue. Let's go out on a date."
I half believe that, but I do think it's become almost a fad. I think I made it. I'm about to meet me a white girl. Like, I think that's a real thing. I mean, I really do.
So you think they get that big check and they say, all right, I'm about to go get me a Lamborghini?
I mean, I don't have any facts.
And a white girl. That's the checklist.
Yeah, the checklist. But I mean, I think it's like you said, I might even say, for some of those people, it could be self-hate. But for some of these like athletes or something, it could just be something as simple as it's an upgrade. You know, they want to change the scene or they want something different. And I think why some of our sisters have a problem is, do these quote unquote white women have to meet the same standards? Do you do the same things with her? Do you give her the same grief? Do you already see her when you come in? Do you already have your guard up because she reminds you of your mother and all this stuff? And it's like this white girl comes in and the slate is clean because it's a completely new situation. Not saying it's their fault, but it's, you know,
they don't carry the baggage of previous relationships,
or they do, but it's a different baggage, so you don't recognize it.
And,
right.
You know, and we all know black women have some negative stereotypes from they're angry, attitude, gold diggers, all that. But I did want to touch on one more thing, and I do agree with what Razio said too, to an extent that, you know, Jamel Hill a couple of weeks ago wrote the article on how black athletes should start going to HBCUs. Mm-hmm. We all know that the majority of them are at these predominantly white institutions. So when they have the college parties and stuff, I'm sure the white women outnumber the black women by a certain amount. You shaking your head, Fur, but I'm just saying, like, it's got, some of it has to be a numbers thing.
Those athletes I went to FAM, Florida State's across the street. Guess what those athletes were?
Because it was across the street, but what's across the street from Alabama? What's across the street from LSU?
Stillman, but yeah.
Okay, whatever.
Were they at Stillman? Yes. LSU, where were they?
And probably
yeah, so that's what they were at.
Well, okay, Oregon. You got one for Oregon? Huh? Right there. But
I get what you're saying. You know, like you said, it is circles.
I do want to make one final point, too. In addition to if you only date one race, I also think if you want to date a white woman, I think that's great. just don't put black women down to justify your reason for dating them. Well, I dated a white woman because I ain't got time for somebody wearing a headscarf to bed or getting an attitude with me and all this stuff. Like, just say that's what you like. You can date what you like without putting down black women. That's all I ask. So
yeah, and the reason I asked that, why did you ask the question? I can't remember what it was, but they brought up family. So like you're not just dating or married to that one person who might be for the culture, but her family might be calling you all kinds of names behind your back, and you still have to deal with that. And you still have to go out and experience that. You know, when your kids come over, are they accepted? Mm-hmm. You know,
I've got a perfect story for that. My dad, when he used to go see my mom, my granddad would be like, that white boy out there to see you. Like, he wouldn't call my dad by name.
Well, they was a real live jungle fever, man.
Yeah. But you know what?
West Side Story.
Dad can pass though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know why they gave him all that grief.
Just giving him a hard time, I think. I mean, he became, I think, my granddad's favorite, son-in-law. Like, I know he was my grandma's favorite son-in-law. So it's one of those things, man, that he did pass, and he showed them that I love her and I'm gonna be here, you know. So that's all it really takes.
That's what's up.
Yeah, Byron, we're gonna revisit that question because there are some, I think, potential, I'm not gonna call them benefits, but some potential things that I think help make some of those relationships easier. So we'll put a pin in that and kind of come back to that later.
That's a lot better than what I thought you was about to say. I thought you was about to say there's some benefits to dating a white woman. Rozzy, bring us on, man.
Nah, man, give my beautiful black queen, man. You know, I'm
about to say, better credit. Yeah.
I'm Sister Soldier Locks, all
man,
that.
Have some of the best mayonnaise sandwiches.
Oh, man.
I hate mayonnaise.
All right. So let's see. Which question do I want? I'm gonna lighten it up a little bit, and I'm probably gonna make Jenica mad because it's one of these, what's your favorite and your top 5 and everything like that. But I've been watching Wu-Tang and American Saga. And, Wu-Tang just had they just did the documentary on Showtime, I want to say it was on. So Wu is kind of coming back into the mainstream for a lot of the kids that didn't really know about him. And when I say watching the series that they have, it's on Hulu, I think. And just watching how they got together and everything, and the songs that RZA drops in every episode, and just seeing them like cut the records and everything, man, when I tell you, I binged the first 3 episodes and I was hyped. Like, Jenica was over there annoyed with me because every time a song come on, I was like, man, I love this song. Like, they had Ghostface Killah, doing one of his songs, having a flash forward of Iron Man and it dropping. I was like, man, you don't understand how hype I was when Ghostface dropped Iron Man. Listen to this song. Like, I was pulling them up on YouTube and everything. Like, I was crunk about this. And so with that, my question for you guys, it's a 2-part question. One, I hear a lot of people say you can tell a person's personality by their favorite Wu-Tang member. So I want to know what your favorite Wu-Tang member was and what your favorite crew was. So not just like rap group, but so we're not going to talk about Outkast versus Wu, but like the Dungeon Family or the Saint Lunatics, NWA. You can probably even go into some of the smaller labels, so Suave House or even No Limit or, that type of thing. But what was your favorite crew? And you can say Wu, but probably outside of Wu, because I'm pretty sure that's probably high on everybody's list.
Bird?
Nah, man, I want to think about this one.
So I know off top, my favorite member was Old Dirty Bastard, and I'm just sorry, but
I like it, Rob.
It was a documentary. I think it was MTV or whatever, and That dude said, I don't give a bleep. I go smash a chick and she can burn me and I don't care. I'll go back and smash her again. So what? I was like, what? Like, he gave, the saying a year or so ago was to give zero bleeps. ODB was ahead of his time.
Yes, he was, man.
Zero. Yeah. And me and my friend Michael Tart in 6th grade at Phillips, we would just randomly in the middle of class, like taking a test, we'd be like, Brooklyn, zoo, what? Like loud, man. So it's definitely ODB. And he wasn't even I think Method Man was probably the better, one of the better rappers of the group, even though Ghostface Killah and Raekwon fans would disagree with that. But ODB was my favorite, man. As far as favorite crew, all right, Ferg, can you at least name your favorite Wu member? And then
then we'll come back around.
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you think on that one?
I got to go with Meth just because his versatility, man. I feel like Meth could do no wrong. He's just, if he's on it, it's going to be hot. Music-wise, TV-wise, movie-wise. I mean, that dude could have, if Meth got on Sesame Street tonight, it would be your favorite episode of Sesame. That dude is just, and he's passed the test of time. It's just, he's always cool. I don't know, man. It's just something about him. Even I just remember, what was the latest, was it VMAs, BET Awards or something like that? Came out, it was just this dude is still, he's still cool. He still got it. And, for someone that tries to be versatile and keep themselves together, I kind of respect his hustle. Some people don't age as well. They don't adapt as well. But Meth is that person. He was relevant then, probably one of the most relevant back in the day, and still is probably the most relevant today. So that's my dude.
Yeah. It's hard because I've switched between them.
Which member slaps people for without hesitation? Is it Ghostface, or is it RZA?
It's Raekwon, probably the biggest one.
Okay, I know one of them will like the dude that was overcharging people for the AIDS medicine that wound up going to jail. He wound up having a beef with one of the Wu-Tang members, and I think it was I don't know, Ghostface or Raekwon.
I think it was Ghostface that time. Ghostface was, he was a little, he'll fly off the handle too.
Yeah.
So, but it's funny, none of them really gave a F. If you haven't watched the series, go watch the series because it really opens your eyes to why everybody was like they are. The actors are awesome in it. I mean, they really take on the personalities of each one of them, and you can really see every member in the actor. So, and if you like ODB in it is hilarious too. So yeah, you'll really like the show. But for me, it's evolved. I probably started off with Meth just because he was the coolest, right? So he's the front man. And I mean, when you hear that METHOD, man, everybody what is going on? But I slowly evolved to start appreciating Ghostface a lot more. And
what song made Ghost?
Yeah.
That song changed. It was summer 2000?
Yeah. Man, it ran so hard. So I got into him for a while. But now, as I'm older, I think my favorite really is RZA. I mean, just for his vision. I mean, the beats that he put out, again, I'm a huge nerd. I watched all those Kung Fu flicks. And so when I heard the songs and I heard the sound bites and the clips and the samples, I knew exactly what movie it was coming from. I'm like, oh, that's, Return to the 36 Chambers. Oh, that's Enter the Dragon. Oh, that's, and I was like, man, this is the dude. So his beats, so it wasn't his lyrics. Of course, he's not the best rapper in the group, but being able to put all that together, being able to say, Meth, you're going to be the latest man. I'm going to put you out. Raekwon, you my lyricist, Ghostface, you just the lover boy in it all. I mean, ODB, you just gonna be our wild card. Being able to say all of us have our niche, and then you think about the business side of it when you talk about he set it up. They were the first group that had a group album, but they could go out and do individual albums on their own labels. And he fought for that. And so that was unheard of in the music industry, truthfully, that a group would allow, or a label would allow a group member to go to another label and do an individual album. But RZA wouldn't let them get signed without that in the contract. That was big. And then being able to say, and they get to carry the Wu label with them, even if it's not on the label that we're on now. So all that business acumen and all that he did to make Wu what they are today, man, RZA holds, all the power for me.
So I think it makes sense, man. I mean, if by what you guys said, Rozzy, you probably have more RZA. That's probably not a coincidence. But that fits your personality. Byron, you are, maybe not now, but you were a wild card. You were,
yeah.
Hey, so it makes
a Parasite Boy. Yeah. I don't remember that.
I'm choking on the water now, man.
So you would say anything. So I think it makes sense. So.
Oh well, as far as favorite group, man, or I think you said
favorite crew.
Yeah, favorite crew. I still got to put out there, my favorite group of all time is 8Ball MJG. Let me just put that out there right now. Favorite crew, man, I don't know. Maybe it's got to be out of Dungeon Family, I guess, because I was a huge Outkast fan, and I like some of the other guys that were in it. So it's out of Dungeon Family, and just that whole, I got to say that whole Death Row family, because for me, that was when I really started loving rap. I remember our mutual friend Lorenzo. We was in 6th grade together at Phillips, and Nothing But a G Thing had came out. He's like, "Hey man," it was like the first day of school almost. I didn't even know him. He's like, "Hey man, you seen that Nothing But a G Thing video?" I said, "Yes." and from then on, man, I just really started following rap, man. And so that just that whole Snoop, Dre, Dogg Pound, even Lady of Rage, man, like that whole crew was just so cool to a young Byron back then. So that was my favorite crew.
So I have two answers since Byron had two. I guess of all time is Dungeon Family. I mean, you got to respect Outkast. I love CeeLo just because CeeLo's versatile. He has a different style. I'm always on something different. And even when they introduce other people like Sleepy Brown, Killer Mike, and I'm a Janelle Monáe fan. Like, just the fact that she's part of Dungeon Family and stuff like that. So these guys withstood the test of time. Anytime they come back out, it's going to be a killer. Cass has some of my favorite music of all times from day one.
Don't forget, Erykah Badu came out of that Dungeon Family crew for real, too. So when Andre, Common, Erykah Badu, they were in the dungeon when they made all those hits. So you can kind of, as a extended Dungeon Family.
So they were the dragon part, or they were kind of the.
Yeah.
Then of course I gotta respect No Limit. You know what I'm saying? Just because. Yeah, man. Just that timing was so impeccable in such an important part of my life when I was 15, 16, kind of really feeling like I was becoming a man and thinking I'm kind of in the streets doing what I do. So it kind of fit, it made you want to buck up, toughen up and stuff like that. So it was just something about that music that spoke to me. I don't know why. I wasn't really about that life, but it spoke to me. We're walking around thinking we're like almost like No Limit. You had your crews, what was that class of 97? John L. LaFleur, were they No Limit soldiers? No, they were true. Remember they had the little true tattoos?
Yeah.
So anybody, John L. LaFleur, class of 97, please post, if you're listening, your TRU tattoo. Because I remember when people were getting that, and I was like, I can't wait to get a tattoo. I'm so glad that my mama did not let me get a tattoo, because I probably would have been dumb enough to get the TRU tattoo. But it was just somebody, the way P was just a general, and you had all these different personalities. For some reason, we thought Silk the Shocker was flowing. I don't know what we were thinking.
Did we though? I don't know if we really thought that.
I don't think we thought he was flowing.
It was a flow. It was just his wordplay, I guess. It was just, I don't know what it was, but it was riding. So if I'm the only person that thought he was riding, then I'll speak up.
Yeah, that's why we can never talk about anybody who likes Blueface or Lil Yachty or any of them because we were bumping Silk the Shocker.
Yeah, but then you also had Mac, you had Mystical, you had Fiend. Like, man.
Oh yeah, I mean, No Limit had a stable. I mean, but the problem was it's because we grew up in the South. So outside of the South, that stable meant nothing. Like the big names got play, but Mac wasn't getting play in the Northeast. You know, he wasn't getting play out West. So we know all these like classics to us, but they weren't classics for everybody. But yeah, I agree. I think No Limit is probably one of my biggest ones. But I'm gonna take it way left and go down South Florida to Slip and Slide. So
hey man, hey, there was some Byron,
you were a dancer and stuff, so
exactly.
I'm surprised you didn't say 2 Live Crew though.
2 Live Crew. I mean, they were kind of the grandparents of that bass music anyway. So when you really, I almost put them in that same. When I talk about a crew, I look at just bass music in general. So you can put 2 Live Crew in there too for that.
Trick Daddy was down with them, and Trick Daddy was Slip and Slide. So yeah.
Oh yeah, man. I went to school in Florida, so that's Slip and Slide Records. Many a party got turned up over that, man. So Slip and Slide. I did not think you were going to bring them up.
Yeah, man. That's I still bump Trick now. So
it crossed my mind. Yeah, Chapter AK Verse 47, one of the dopest albums ever. Okay, nobody say.
Yeah,
you had like 3 6 Mafia. Like I rocked with them for a set.
Yeah, were they on Swisher House?
No, they were on Hypnotize Mind.
Oh, okay. So them and Project Pat.
Man. I remember that. Get It
Project
Green.
Pat, Crunchy Black, Gangsta Boo.
It was so horrible. So horrible.
Where the dollars at?
Oh, man. The 90s and early 2000s, boy.
About to make me a whole new playlist for my workout tomorrow.
Hey, man. Some Luda in there. And, I mean, you about to Lil Jon and the East Side Boys. And, I mean, it was
man. That whole crunk movement.
Oh,
like, I mean, there's so much. Music is just great in general, man. I mean, and we just talk about hip hop right now, but you see how excited I get talking about it. And it's one of those things, man, that I don't care how down you are. I don't care what's going on. You can put on some of those records and just lose yourself in it, man. It makes everything go away, and you just feel good. So
speaking of playlists, Razzie, you still owe me Splash, bro.
I know I can't find it, man. I tried. I'll see. Can I get it?
All right. Well, fellas, once again, great talking to you guys. Had a blast as usual. It's always fun. Anything you want to say to the listeners before we leave?
Razzie, at the top of the show, thank the listeners, man. And I just want to reiterate that. And the reason we stress and ask for you guys to subscribe and rate us is because it helps our podcast move up in the search list. So when people are just randomly searching for podcasts, it'll help ours bump up there and help us grow the audience. But I can't say it enough. We like me, Razzie, and Ferg, we actually text one another and be like, wow, man, people are listening. Like we really, it genuinely makes us happy. So thank you guys. I know some of you guys have said you listen to us while you're working out, on your commute. So we just appreciate all the love. Keep it coming. Keep sharing us. Keep interacting with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. And with that, like we said, keep interacting, throw out ideas. Want to shout out everybody that's given us an idea or tagged us in, an article, that type of thing. We do keep them. That's how we have these lists of things to ask and talk about is we're keeping track of every last one that we're tagged in. So keep tagging us, keep adding us. We appreciate it. We're going to keep interacting with you, and we're going to just keep growing this thing, man.
Thanks, fellas. 2 things before I leave. 1, Tab, my bad. You posed a question. I said I was going to talk about it on the show, so I will briefly bring it up next week. And the second thing is, stay tuned. We're going to start putting polls out there to get your feedback, to let you see what you guys are thinking about questions. So stay tuned to the next, after this next episode, you'll see a poll, maybe one or two, just to kind of pick your brains and see what you guys are thinking. I am Tavares Ferguson, a.k.a. Ferg, joined my co-host Byron Evans, Buff, Lil Evil. What else are we calling it, Razi?
Like I said, Parasite Boy.
Parasite Boy.
I'm going to enlighten you guys on what they're talking about next episode.
Yeah, we got Razi, RZA, Razi. I'm not going to start calling you by your nicknames.
One of them you can't say.
Once again, it's your favorite podcast, Three Brothers No Sense. Thanks for listening.